Hello, my friends. How are you? Happy Saturday. I'm so sorry. My eye has like something itching in it. Oh my gosh. Hi, my name is Natasha. I am so excited to be here talking with you today. I just got done, like, it's Saturday night and I had a family game night with my kids. So we had a family dinner and then we had a game night. And not only are my kids here, but my oldest two significant others came over. It was just so nice. Like, they helped clean, they helped cook, and everybody kind of had this team effort. And then we all played Family Feud, and we played 3 rounds of it, and it was a good time. And so I'm so grateful for like family time and like this ability to hang out with you know these 24-year-olds and 23-year-olds and 22-year-olds and 21-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds. Like, I don't know, I feel super like lucky and blessed that this is how they were choosing to spend their Saturday night. And so, like, how lucky am I? Really, like, seriously, like, life is good. This morning I got up early, I did my run, I did some writing. I actually like had these major epiphanies like on my life, and just kind of like feeling like super hopeful as far as like things go in regards to my relationship with Chris. Like, I think we are really like paving this path to become like really amazing friends and really amazing co-parents, and like having this like sense of relief to be able to put into words like what it is I'm feeling and what it is my priorities are, so that like he can adapt. Like, my priority right now is like my entire life. Like, my grandma had said like her, like, she's like, my kids are at my top of my totem pole, and then come the grandkids, and then comes everything else, and then comes like her second husband, and then like she never had herself on the totem pole. And so it's kind of like what I learned. And it was like my kids, work, Chris, everybody else, friends, like anything, and then me. And so now, like, it came to a point where, and I know for some people they may be like, oh, that's like, literally, I don't care. Like, I don't care, because I know what I have to do for myself. And right now, like, there has been a major transformation, and I'm at the top of my totem pole. I have a lot of lost time to make up for. Like, I don't know, let's just say I started this, like, maybe it's been 45 years of lost time of like suppressing and sacrificing. And these were all chosen things. Like, nobody made me do any of these things. Like, I willingly participated in this. However, I'm at a place where I am at that tippiest top of the tip top of my totem pole. And that's really important to me. And so, like, for me right now, it is like my kids, I'm sorry, see, it's like default settings, myself, my kids, like my dreams, aspirations, and exploration, like, journey that I'm currently on, and then everything else. Like, and I know that like when you're in a relationship, that may not feel or sound fair, but like I also can't dictate what I do based on that anymore. So I need to have that honest disclosure to him that this is where I'm at. I don't see myself in a position where, like, I barely have enough time to do all the things that I am needing to do that fuel me. I don't have the time or the willingness, whatever you want to call it, to now also share that with like a relationship. Is just so far from where I'm at right now, because I have a lot more healing to do. Like, I have a lot more like things that I need to share, and things that I need to find out about myself and heal and everything, in order to just show up as the best person and the best version of me. And that's a really difficult. And I know, like, there's so many things in which a partner just makes life all that much richer. But then on the same turn, I know who I am, and I know my tendency to prioritize others above myself. And like, again, if all of a sudden my kids pop in, I will drop everything I'm doing because I value that time. I know it's finite, and I know it's not always in my control. And so, I have flexibility and I'm adaptable, and I'm like, okay, I will work later into the night, or I will, not get my steps now, or I'll eat earlier, or I'll eat later. Like, I will adapt because I'm adaptable. But that same adaptability and flexibility has gotten me into trouble before because, I'm like, oh, well, let me just prioritize everybody else and everything else, and I'll get to me. And then oftentimes I would be too tired or too worn out, or just, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I just wouldn't get to me. And so really keeping this, concept that I am worthy, I am important, I am worth, going to the workouts. I am worth, going to lunch with friends. So speaking of which, I went to another great lunch with a group of friends, and, it's so fun. I had to confess to them. I was like, when I first started coming to the gym, I had this whole idea, like, this was going to be my place, and it wasn't going to be about anybody else. Like, I didn't want to cultivate or have friendships. I just really wanted to go. And what I loved was nobody knew me in this other city 30 minutes away, that I can go and just be me, and I can just blend in with everybody else. But unfortunately, I am just not a blendable person. Like, I guess I, in my own way, stand out. And so it was literally like the second class I went to, and this sweet lady came up to me and was like very welcoming and nice to me, and I couldn't help but to reciprocate. Like, I remember when I first started going, people would have conversations, and I had to like physically tell myself, like, do not engage, do not engage, do not engage, do not say anything. I know you want to right now. Like, they're talking about things that like I know about, and like I was like getting so excited. It was like so hard for me. I was like, don't talk. I don't want anybody to know me. I just want to come here and do my gym and not like get all caught up in this whole like friendship thing. I just want to come and do my thing and then go. Yeah, that lasted like 2 classes. And then, but I'm so glad to where like the last 2 years have taken me. It's probably been about 2 years now, like consistently going, not only physically my transformation, but just the transformation on the inside, these new friendships. And what the problem was, let me tell you guys this is the problem, is for so many years, I was so broken. And so a lot of the people that I attracted into my life, like, we were vibing at a broken frequency, right? And so all those relationships required an abundance of energy from me, like, and the abundance of like, and it was also like not their fault, like, right, like they may be broken, but I was just as broken too. And so like I wanted to go in and fix things, and so I found broken people, and I thought I could fix them and help them and make it better. Where now the energy that I'm meeting in the gym is a very different energy. These people are positive, they are successful, they are inspirational, they are generous, they are kind for the most part. I mean, I would say 99.9% of them. And over time, you have small conversations and you find out these miraculous things about their lives. And you're like, wow, like I am really in the presence of greatness. Like, you lived your passion, you didn't live your passion, and you realized it, and you were like, I'm going to work, and I don't want to do that, but I love this artistic side, and to quit a very successful engineering job to go become and explore your creative side, and find these new passions like art and things like photography and painting, ceramics. Like, I mean, that's a great story. Like, yes, that is why I adore these people, is because they're the type of people in the gym, my friends, my new friends, they don't just settle. They do not say, I'm just going to work because I have to go to work, or they're not complaining about they are the doers. They are the ones that are willing to take a chance, who are willing to change, who are willing to pursue their passions, whatever it may be. They're courageous and brave and beautiful, and their energy lights me up. Like, their enthusiasm for the classes and just kindness. I mean, people will come and bring me little goodies and treats. And I had a friend, one of my friends who was also at dinner, had our lunch today. She went to Italy and she brought me a treat. She brought me, it was like a little bag of like lemon soaps. And she said, smell it. And she never would know, right? Because she doesn't know me like this. It is literally one of my favorite smells. I don't know why. It reminds me of like childhood or something about it. It is this like smell. And I don't know if you know, like way back in the day, I don't even know if they still do, but like we used to have a KFC in Foster City where I grew up, and they had the little wipes, and there's some certain wipes that have this like lemony clean smell. I don't know what it is. And I used to just sit there and smell these so stinking good smelling wipes. And it was just home to me. It was peaceful. It was vibrant. It was energetic. It was comforting. And so she told me to smell it, and I, like, my eyes rolled behind my head, and I was like in seven heaven. I literally put it in my bag, and she's like, yeah, you can put it in your closet, in your car, anywhere, or like or your, anywhere. She said that. I said, my car or anything. But I've actually carried it around, and like just every so often these last 24 hours since she's given it to me, I will just like sit there and smell it, and it just is like, it was like the most kind gift I received in a long time. And I get a lot of kind gifts, but it was just like, it was like something I needed, I didn't know I needed. And like to have this thing, because like I will hunt. Like recently Chris had bought some hand sanitizer, and I sprayed it, and it smelled like, I'm like, where did you get this hand sanitizer? Like a serious, like, I need this hand sanitizer. What brand is this? Like, where is it? I need it. And it's something about it, like it's like super addictive to me. And I wouldn't wear it as a perfume or anything, but there's just something very special about that smell. And she would never have had an idea. And it was so like important to me, and I love this gift now. Like it's the smallest thing, and it's just some soaps, but like it has brought me so much joy. So like I'm so grateful to be with, people. I'm taking chances. Like we went out to dim sum today. I tried chicken feed, and I tried a bunch of other things. I really didn't know what I ate. I would ask, I eat first, ask later, and everything was so good. And so they're like, yep, you're officially Asian now. Like you can join in. But I was saying I'm so grateful, because where I had started and where I had envisioned my gym experience to be was going to be a very like, this is about me. I'm in my Natasha season. I don't want friends, and I don't want to hear your complaints about your husband and your job and all. Like I don't want to hear all the negative frequency of the people I was accustomed to being with. And what they have taught me is all friendships are not like that. There is not a one that has complained to me about their husband. There is not a one that has complained to me about their job. They'll say, I didn't like my job, and I quit. I went to go and I became an artist, like telling me in their story. So it's not like they're just sitting there complaining. It's like, hey, this doesn't feel right with me. I'm going to change, it's telling me stories about how their kids, went to UCLA for mechanical engineering, and they didn't find happiness and passion in it. And later on in life, they ended up saying, I'm going back to school and want to be a veterinarian. Like it is that, and them supporting those decisions. And, it's just so welcoming to say, like, I don't need to have all the answers, and it's okay actually if I don't. Like that is the beauty of where I'm at now. It's about the exploration. It's about finding out, what is it for me that resonates, and what is it for you? Like, what are you doing in your life that brings you pure joy, and what things are not, and where can you make changes? Because obviously we still have taxes and bills and things like that. But like, where can you take that risk? Where can you make some alterations in your life and find an abundance of success? And success is not defined by a number on a bank account, because guess what? You can have 10 million numbers in your bank account and then die the next day, but have been miserable. And you can have 10 and have lived a very beautiful, fulfilling life. I mean, that's why they call them like starving artists, right? Like, but they may be feeling, full of sharing their passion and joy. It just may look a little different. And so I think there isn't one answer that fits all. And I think that it's important to find the one answer for you, and it may not come first, right? Like we may think like, oh, I really like this, or I really want to do this, and start there. And where it ends up, I mean, like I've said, the girl that runs the social media thing with Costco, the woman who is running her own patisserie, they didn't start like as little girls having these dreams to do these things. It's just the way life had worked out. And suddenly it became obvious and clear to them what was important, what was the thing that fueled them. And then they went to it and they pursued it relentlessly. And so I love that. And I feel like I really can relate to that. And it just really invokes a lot of emotion in me, because it's like I'm finally learning about this as an option. It's not just I made a decision at one point in my life and I have to stick with it. Like, change is okay. And change is sometimes necessary. Like, we don't always want it, right? Like, what do they say? The hardest things in life are like marriage, like getting married. Like, these are the big traumas, like somebody dying, a birth, like buying a new home or moving. Like, these things like are big, and we like sometimes look forward to them, and sometimes we kind of dread them, and we're like, no, there's just so much uncertainty around it. And like oftentimes we have to, like, it makes us do some reflection inside that we didn't really want to do. We just wanted to be like living our normal lives, right? And then suddenly something happens and we're like, we really have to like face these things. And so I think if we just face them more often and not wait for a death or a birth or, a moving or a divorce or any of these kind of things, that, we can really find who we are and what's important to us. And so I'm so curious, like, what is it you love? Like, what activities just fuel you? Is it baking? Is it, art? Is it like spending time with your kids? What is it that lights you up? And for me, it's a lot of things. Like, and that's what I'm learning, is like each different thing is bringing me a different form of joy. Like tonight, sitting around having a dinner with, 8 people total. It just feels like home. Having this ability to talk, talking with my son's girlfriend, because we haven't seen each other in a few months. Just having that chance to have that face-to-face conversation and hear her stories about her family and her desires and her, struggles with the job she was in and now transitioning to a new one. Like, it's really nice to know that everybody's having their own experiences, and to hear stories about how, we were talking about how Dylan was accepted to UCLA, and then talking about how, one of her, girlfriends who had worked really hard throughout high school, was just exceptionally intelligent, and the heartbreak of hearing a story that, like, here she was, this first generation student who was very unsupported in the college journey, not by like anything beyond, they just didn't know. They had emigrated here from a poor country, and like, it was just a challenging life, and then she wasn't accepted. And so, like, I was saying, yeah, I've had to do like a lot of self-reflection on, like, why is it so important for me? Like, why did I value like this, like my kids going to college? Like, why was it such an important, why was it? And I say was because it's just not it is important, don't get me wrong, but it is not as important to me as it was like 8 years ago, 6 years ago. And let me explain to you. And I think a lot of it, again, is like, upon self-reflection, is I think it's because, again, I'm taking my life experience and in a weird way putting it on my kids. So like, I was a smart girl, but I also was like crafty. It was like, I knew enough to get by, right? Like, I knew what I had to do to stay off my dad's radar and everything. So it was like a means to an end. If I had good grades, I had more freedom. Like, if I had more freedom, I felt happier. And I was able to spend time with friends, which meant I was talking and not just alone in my room while my dad and my brother were doing their own things. So doing the right thing equaled freedom to me, and it equaled communication. It equaled like a sense of belonging. And I got to be around female energy, which I love male energy. It's predictable. It's easy. It's, like, for the most part. I mean, like, again, like I say, Chris is by his, similar to my dad, very unpredictable personalities. And that makes me a little uneasy, because like, finally, when they're like happy and smiling, it's like I can sigh a relief. But when I don't know. Each day I get that anxiety and apprehension as soon as you hear the door open, like who is walking in this door and what is it going to be like? It's a sense of relief when it's like, oh, hi, you know, when you get a smile, and then it's like stress and worry when you get ignored and gruffed at. So yeah, it's very challenging for me personally to like be in that energy zone. And but yeah, there wasn't a lot of communication. So like, but again, like here I was the first person in either side of my family to even attend college, you know? So I give myself that, let alone be a female, like male or female. I was the first one. And that's huge, right? And I really wanted to finish it. I really did. I really wanted to wear that badge of honor. Like I did that. I changed that. And just because I haven't finished yet, it doesn't mean I'm not going to. And it doesn't mean that I don't have a killer education, like by my own wits and resources, right? Like I find ways to educate myself. I'm not dependent upon, you know, a teacher or a piece of paper to say I am smart or I am good enough or anything like that, or somebody else may value that and you know, judge my intelligence based on that. That's on them. Like I know the intelligence I have, and so you know, that is what it is. But it doesn't mean that eventually I'm not going to go back. And, you know, if I decide to pursue that again, I say, I don't really like, I'm like, listen, I'm a 47-year-old woman. I do not need to be tested on like, did you know the material? Like, I want to sit there and engage and like, let it soak in. I am by nature a note taker, but like on the same turn, I'm like, who are you to say like I know it or not? Like I don't want to be tested. I just want to learn, but I guess that's part of the game, right? Like you have to have everything in life has to have a measurement. Like me just knowing isn't good enough because, you know, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't send kids to school. I don't know all the bureaucracy part about it, but I know like if I want to learn in that method, I better just stick to YouTube or master classes or something else. Like it's not that, but I think I do. I still am like really thinking I'd like to go back to college. I did decide I'm going to take a gap year though. Like I told Tyler, I'm like, I don't want to have to compete against you. I really don't want him competing against me. Like for a spot, like I would feel very heartbroken if all of a sudden I got into his dream school and he didn't, you know, like I'm like, listen, we need a little space between it. So I think he in some ways has relief because for so many years I've joked like, I'm going to college with you. I will cook for you, like all this thing. And he's like, please don't. Like, please don't. And I'm like, why? Like, I'll be a cool mom. You know, we'll have so much fun. And we can share rooms. Like, he was like, no, it's not happening, Mom. I'm like, ugh, fine. And I'm joking. I really am joking. But it's so fun to joke with him about because he knows I'm joking. But then there's a little part of him. He's like, she is just that crazy that she totally would do this to me. And I'm like, you're the baby. Of course I'm coming to college with you. So yeah, like that's that. And then I also feel like because I didn't have that guidance, because I didn't have that help, and then I did so much research for Bradley. Like I literally, and I don't even know what to do with it. Like I'm talking this thick of binders, 2 of them I have for Bradley that I had printed things. They're in sheet protectors, and I was like, oh my, after I finished we finished all of Dylan's stuff. I literally was cleaning out my room and I found that and I was like, oh my gosh, like here was a whole blueprint here. And it was filled with like all of the work that we had did, the questions, his answers, like the brag sheets, everything that we had worked on together, because it was like, I was like, I didn't have the support through mine, so I wanted to make sure he did. And then I also didn't have like the resources to go out there and pay for a college coach or all these things. So basically I did all this studying and became a college coach for him. And I did this, I was like, well, this isn't a wasted, you know, skill. I'm going to use it 4 times. So, you know, obviously the things have changed and the name of the game has changed a little bit, you know, like there's no SAT requirements or ACT requirements. Although I do believe that I really wish my son would have took them, because I do think that like it would help in the some of the private school things. But so far everything's worked out like for him as far as like acceptances, and it doesn't make him any more eager to go. So again, that's another battle. But the battle I'm with right now is myself. Why, right? Like, so why was this so important to me? And I think it is important because it's in a way, how like we say, oh, like, almost like daddy ball, like where, the dads are living through their kids. It's not that I want them to go to college to live through me, but it's just, I want them to have the opportunity. Like the worst thing for me I kept telling them throughout their high school career is, I feel like the worst thing to do is to close a door in front of you that you would have wanted open. And so I always encourage them to show up as best as they could. Like, you set the groundwork. You're the one who was getting all, what it is, 3s and 4s or whatever it is that you're getting in elementary school, and then went on to middle school to get all A's. Like, you set this bar really high, which means this is something you can achieve. This is something you can do. And, I'm just straight up. I'm like, every B, every C is you potentially shut a door. And that's okay, because there's so many doors open, right? But if you want the most doors open, you need to put your best effort for everything. Like school, bottom line. So like the grade part, bottom line, that's what you got to do. Then secondarily is like, you just have to be you and find out who you are. Don't try to be everybody else. Here's what I'm talking about. Like, people ask, oh, you have 2 kids at Cal, they must be really smart. They are. Okay, they're not idiots, but I'm not going to say they are rocket scientists by any means. And I'm not going to say that they work any harder than Owen does at a private school. Like, I'm not going to say that that's true, because it's simply not. Like, everybody is having their own experiences. Obviously, they all have 4 majors. So I know, the kids we played with today, 3 are either, 2 Cal graduates, one is about to be a Cal graduate, and one goes to a private school. And they're all working hard. The one that's going to private school, he's like up for valedictorian. So proud of him, right? Like, he worked just as hard as these ones, right? Like, they all worked really hard. And maybe in some ways, some of these ones didn't even work quite as hard as others, but they're all different majors, which is really exciting. Like, it's interesting to me because it's like a broad spectrum. And, I feel like what the thing is they figured out or they were not afraid to say, this is who we are. So it's like, here's what you like, and highlight that. I feel like the problem with a lot of the kids that, like, the parents I've talked to is like, they do what everybody else is doing. Oh, okay, well, Johnny next door went to Kumon, and they're doing this tutoring, and they're doing 5 APs this year, and they're doing this thing. And they're going to go do their SATs, and they're going to get they're going to study all summer and get these perfect grades. And this is where they're choosing to use their time, which is fine, right? Because you only have a finite amount of time. And if you're loving that, then please do that. That will show. But also, if you don't, it will show. And if you're doing exactly the same thing as 5 other people around you, how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate? You tell me. Like, if I sat here and did my podcast, my YouTube, whatever this ends up being, exactly like somebody else, it's, how do you differentiate? You can't. You have to be you. You have to stand out and stand up for the things that you like, that connect with you. And there are people out there that will connect with that. And so in this process, like, all I can recommend to anybody else is like, well, how did your kids get in? What were their classes? What's the recipe? The recipe is let them be them. Period. Let your kids be them. Let them explore. Yes, you can encourage them. Yes, you can, if you see them, they're teenagers, right? They are kids. They are like cows in a pasture, right? But there are limits. There are fences. We put out fences because the cows just can't roam free yet. They're not ready for this, okay? Because there's danger out there. So you gotta set the fence. And sometimes that fence needs to be really small, and you need to rein them in. And sometimes you can broaden it a little bit more and say, okay, you know what? You're doing good here. Let's give you some more space to roam and some place to be creative. Because so they need that encouragement. They need those reminders of what they can't see, because those brains with the prefrontal cortexes that aren't fully developed, they don't understand that the decisions and things that they do now will have an effect on them, right? So they're just in class. They're not wanting to listen and learn. They're bored. They're tired. They're hungry. They're hormonal. You name it. They got it all going on. And so, and some of them in that moment may not be thinking about where I'm going to be in 3 or 4 years. Not a priority, not a care, you know? And then other people, it's all they care about. And why is it they care about that? Like, is this what the conversation is at home? My thing is, please go out there and like be a whole person. Don't just be a student with perfect grades. In my opinion, I don't know. I am not an admissions officer. All I can say is what has worked for my family and what advice I've given. And these were the results. And I am not a trained college counselor. Beyond, obviously, I did a lot of research myself, and I have a couple binders and books I read, and, you know, YouTube and the internet are phenomenal resources. I also ask a lot of questions. So, you know, I wasn't afraid when my son was in high school to be like, what are your questions? And if you're too afraid to call, like, I will call admissions offices and be like, is it okay if they take this? Like, my oldest son had wanted to take ASL, but at that time it wasn't always taken at every school. Like, and so it had taken out like 2 or 3 of the schools that he was interested in. And I'm like, so that's your gamble. You decide if you take ASL, that it may jeopardize your opportunity to go to this school, or if you do, and then maybe that school just wasn't meant for you. Like, you have to make these choices and decisions, you know? And I'm not saying every kid needs to be an A student. Heck, we are not out there talking about trade schools enough, like, in my opinion, because guess what? We all need electricians. We all need plumbers. We all need people who are doing skilled labor. And this is not, like, at least in our area here, this is not a part of the conversation. And it really should be, because we cannot keep continuing to try to force each one of our kids into this same very narrow and small box, because it doesn't work. And, you know, we end up going and spending all this money and our kids going to college, and they're miserable when they would have been great as mechanics, tinkering around and playing with things in a different way. And so I think really having this opportunity to give your kids the space, like, watch them as an observer. It is such a gift, because you can see where your kids naturally gravitate, and you can guide them and give them information in that way. You know, like I said, my son did engineering classes, my oldest one, you know, and I always ask them, you know, how's your day? What's going on? What did you learn? You know, is there something exciting you can share? And he was, you know, I remember him coming home and having this conversation, and he's like, you know, Mom, like, I go into that engineering class and it's fine. Like, it's not like it's a bad class or anything like that. He's like, but I sit there, and again, he has some of my traits of observation, and he'll say, I look around and I see these kids come in and they are pumped. They are so excited to be coming in and working on this project. He's like, and it's just like, they look like how I feel and look when I'm walking on a soccer field. And I was like, well, that's your answer. Because up until that point, he was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be an engineer. I took these engineering classes and I like it. And I like to build and, you know, these things, and I'm good at it. But I was like, that's your answer. Like, and then, you know, other things like, well, then what? And I was like, well, what else do you do with your time? Say, okay, if you're watching soccer, you're watching soccer or playing soccer, or, you know, so he's like, I really like sports. And I was like, okay, that's great. I was like, anything else? And he was like, I really like Shark Tank, and I really like, oh my gosh, some profit show. I can't remember his name was. And these are the things that I'm watching in my free time when nobody's watching. I'm like, there are your answers. It's what you do in the shadows, what you do when nobody's watching. You know, are you reading? What are you reading? Is it about fantasy football? Is it about football? Is it about sports? Like, the thing that monopolizes your time when something else isn't telling you what you have to do with your time. That is your answer. That is your secret sauce. Where do you find that pleasure when nobody's forcing you to do something? For my kids, it's sports. For my kids, it's medicine. For my kids, it's, you know, very different things. And some, you know, in here it's politics. Some in here it's computer sciences. Like, they're all very different. And I think the answer is there. It's just sometimes we don't want to hear it. Like, if you find, like, even my daughter, she's a creative, artistic genius. Like, my gosh, she can draw like I can't even imagine. Mine is a stick figure and a sketchy one at that. Like, not my powerhouse. I'm not upset about it. I know if I really wanted to be an artist, I could take classes, I could watch YouTubes, like the resources are available. I may not have been gifted with a natural artistic ability, but if I wanted to pursue it, I know by darn I could get there, right? It may take years. And somebody like her may have came out the womb having that gift, and I didn't, and that's okay. So I just have to work a little bit harder, but I don't have that desire, so it's a good thing. But my God, I always tell her, I'm like, I could just see you doing something creative. Like you have all these creative ideas and this artistry in you, and like, and doesn't mean she can't apply it to any of the occupations that she does end up choosing. But when you see something, it's like I could just see how passionate you are about this, that it like makes me passionate. Like I don't like to draw, but like I now suddenly am like, maybe I would like to draw. You like, I'm so enamored by watching somebody do what they love. And so I think that is the secret sauce in my kid's success. Obviously, I don't know what the final results will be for Dylan. And then we'll have that conversation about what it is he's really going to truly decide to do once everything is in, which will be in a matter of a couple weeks. And I will keep you posted. But the thing is I think it's so hard because we have our own filters. There are people here that are first generations, into the country. And so you come to America with a lot of dreams, and this is the land of the free and the brave and opportunities. And, so we come to this life with our own filters. And sometimes we forget that, right? Like, and we truly want the best for our kids, but we often don't understand the full story. We don't see life through their filters. We see it through ours. And so, there's that part of me who wants to fulfill that rule of, here, I'm this facilitator, this person that will help you to get to college, that would have helped me to have, achieved one of my dreams, to be the first person on either side of my family to graduate college. Now that's past, right? And that's okay. And it wasn't me. But that's all right. Like it doesn't have to be me. It's not like I was going to win a special award. It was just a personal thing. And it doesn't mean that like I can't still do it and it's not going to be as special or anything. No, it just meant like, hey, that was no longer an opportunity for me. It had passed. Somebody else had achieved it on both sides of the family, which I'm grateful for, right? Like, education is so important to me. I actually really love it. I don't really love it in that structured form. Again, I'm not big on the testing and give me an essay and everything like that. But I really would like to be able to, I think the world is a classroom as well. So I definitely have a degree in that one. But I just say, really, please let your kids be your kids. If they love music, let them play in the band. Like, okay, and not just about being in the band. Then let's take it a step further and be like, where can you do community service with other aspiring musicians? It is about like, perhaps starting a nonprofit, that benefits, I don't know, musicians that can't afford instruments. I don't know. I'm just saying the answer is there. And your kids could be gifted with many different things that they love and adore. But narrow it down, like tell their story. This is what it is. It is, in a sense, it is a story, right? Like when we watch a show, we don't want just to watch a flat show. We want, the arcs, and we want the sad, and then the joy and the vulnerability, because, we've all been kids. And I have to believe that those readers of those essays are just people too. And, they have their own experiences, and some of your experiences you may connect with, and some they may not. And, I know that like rejection is extremely challenging, especially for kids, right? Like you have this fear of missing out. You want to be part of the crew. You want to be accepted. You want to say like, all my hard work was worth it. And so if you're doing what you love and that's why you're doing it, then all your work was worth it. It's not about getting into the school. Just as much for me, like losing the weight wasn't about getting into a size 2 Lululemon pant. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about getting to a certain pound. I don't know what I weigh, so I don't know, but it wasn't about getting to, let's just say 160 pounds. I don't know. It wasn't like, oh, it wasn't about that. It was about each day having the confidence and the courage to show up and do it again, and know that I wasn't certain it was going to work, but I was going to try anyways, and that I would continue to practice and change where I needed to change. And so even on the days that I failed, and even if I weigh 165 or 170 pounds, I don't know what I weigh, so it's not an important figure for me personally, but there are parts that are curious sometimes, but more like it's like a 0.001 percent curious. Like other than that, it's like not really like but overall, I know it doesn't matter. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to change the way I look. It's not going to change the way I feel. Well, maybe it could make me sad, or it could make me really happy. And I'm just not willing to take that chance. Like, like I was ruled by that number for so many years. So to continue to exhibit that self-control is great. It's phenomenal. It's healthy for me. I actually have to go to the doctor's on Monday morning, and I'm like, I need to be abundantly clear. I'm either not stepping on that scale, or they better not tell me or show me or let me see that number, because I'm just not, I can't. This is a serious thing. And so like I said, the last time I knew my weight, I had did like my BMI, and this was huge for me. This was like another scale. Was like I was morbidly obese, and then you had morbidly obese, like extremely obese or something like that, obese, overweight, and I got into the healthy range, and I was like, hey, look, mom, I made it. Like that's awesome. Like that's incredible. So I have to say, is as relatable like for that is to me, like I like to compare and relate things, is like there is no losing. There is no, I wasted this much time or I did this much work. If you're doing the things you love, if you're taking an AP class to get into a certain college and you don't get in, then yeah, you wasted your time. But if you're taking an AP class because you're really into history and you want to go into law, then you take the darn AP class. If you love math and you want to be, I don't know, where the heck do you need math? Engineering, astrophysics? I'm not a mathematician. But then take the class. Like, don't take it for something. Take it for you. And I think that this is where this generation is so locked up, because like even my sophomore son, it was like the panic again. It's that sophomore year, and everybody's panicking which AP you're going to take, what classes they're going to take in the summer, what they're going to do here, what they're going to do there. Like, listen, calm down. Use that same time, because you're going to be using that time. You can come home and go to sleep. You can go hang out with friends. You can hang out with your family. You could do so many things with that time, and it doesn't have to be school related. They are not just accepting students. They are accepting people that are going to go out and change this world. That is who they're looking for, is the people who know who they are, who are going to come to the table and bring new ideas, who are willing to be the outliers, who are willing to say, I'm not going to take a bunch of AP classes just to make my resume look better. Like, I love it. I will take this. Okay, I'm going to take an engineering class instead. I'm going to take 4 years of a foreign language instead of 2 or 3. Like, making these, because I really like it, or I'm interested about this. Like, it's not about getting something in the end, just as much as me not working out one day or choosing to eat healthier one day. It wasn't about like me getting to 160 pounds. It was me changing my life. And so there wasn't a time, even when I was in pain because I did too many squats or, like did the weights wrong or something, like there was never a time that I was upset with myself or disappointed or felt like I shouldn't have done that. Like, no, because I won. I did it. And that is the winning part of it. And so I encourage you to encourage your kids to find who they are, which is obviously not easy. I'm still 47 and finding who I am. I tell my kids, until recently, like I'm starting to know who I want to be. But I used to say, like, it's okay to not know what you want to be when you grow up. Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So, but I'm getting there. I think I'm there. Like, I finally know what I want to be when I grow up. And I'm so excited. Like, because there's been many things I've wanted, like, oh, I want to be a realtor. I want to be a psychologist. I want to be a child psychologist. I want to be that, like, so many different things. But now I know. And now I'm living it. And so I just need the confirmation of like, this is it. And I'm like 99.999% sure I'm there. And if it isn't right for me, it's putting me exactly on the path I'm meant to be on. So I say all that to say happy Saturday. I'm really excited tomorrow. I have big projects to do and I love today. I actually had even my other part of my day that I just need to highlight is like, there is something so magical to me. Again, it was just like a lot of nostalgic things, spending time with family, having lunch with friends. Like the sun was out. The freeway was shut. So it took me an hour and a half to get into lunch. And I was like, it was worth every minute of that 90 minutes to have that lunch experience with them. And then it only took me 30 minutes to get home. So not a big deal. The sun was out. The music was good. And I have to say, like after everything, my son's girlfriend was cooking cookies. I sat there and talked with her while she was doing that. And afterwards I went upstairs and I took a nap. Yes, I took a lovely nap and I had the window open. Warm air was flowing in and in the distance I could hear. It was just people talking and laughing. And it was somebody having a party somewhere on the street. And it just felt like home. There's something so magical about, okay, first off, it needs to be like talking that I can't like try and hear, like it needs to be so distant that it's like, you can just hear it, but you can't hear it. And then you just hear the roaring laughter. I think it reminds me, I think I was thinking about why do I love it? I think when we were little, I used to camp a lot with our family. And there was something about being in the tent and just hearing the chatter and then the laughter amongst everybody on the campsites where it was just like, life is good, like this is just a group of people who know and don't know each other having a good time with their family. So, and friends. So I say all that to say, thank you so much for listening to me again on this lovely Saturday afternoon. And I really hope that you can find the way to not only encourage yourself, but also encourage your children or your godchildren or your nieces or nephews or your neighbors to really, reevaluate why they are doing what they're doing. Is it just to get into a school? Are you willing to sell your soul just to maybe get into a school? I don't know if it's worth it. Like having been a person who sacrificed a lot because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. It was kind of bred into me. Like that's why the same thing goes like with Dylan. Like as much as I want to push him into say like, go here, like if he doesn't want to go, I'm not going to be there to force him to get up and go to class. Like, I don't know. I think that there is and that sounds crazy, right? Like, but I think there is a lot of value in you pursuing your own purpose because it's not my life. It is his. And he left all the doors open. He did the right thing. It's just, he's going to maybe choose to close some or maybe choose to open it in a year or two from now. And that's okay too. Like, it's okay. It's going to be all okay. And I think that's really important for me to know and for me to continue to support him in his decision for his life. Because I love him and I want him to be happy and I would want those around me to support and love me and regardless of what my decisions are. So I say thank you so much and I really, really do appreciate you from like the bottom of my heart. And if you could just go out there and do me one favor, go out there today, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment and just watch how they glow up. Thank you so much. Bye.